everybody. We are on air with Corsair. Welcome to the next episode of the CORSAIR COVE podcast. I am Lucky, or Chancelin. As many of you know, I run the community both on Discord and on Reddit. And today I have two lovely guests with me. Bob, who you've met in the first episode, and now we have Van, who's going to be the one we put on the spot and make him feel awkward and all that good stuff.
Hello.
So let's go ahead and start with Bob. Bob, what have you been up to? It's been a minute since you've been here.
There's been a lot of stuff, isn't it? I missed the last one. It was a fantastic one on the 6500 to the point where I was, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I now need a 6500 case in my life. That thing looks amazing. I've been doing a lot of stuff. We've been doing a lot of streams, a lot of content, loads of things, and a lot of stuff that will be coming out soon as well as working with creators. More on that to come for anybody who's a creator in chat. But yeah, very much, very excited to be working on some new things. But it's always good to come back to do these. I'm just trying to get on more of these podcasts so I can sit and talk about cool stuff for longer. So that's what I'll be doing, is just slowly worming my way into any one of these that I can.
You know, a lot of people have been asking for this, and I know George pops in here quite a bit, and everyone's like, when are we going to get George on here? And I was like, maybe we'll make this like a bi-weekly podcast every 2 weeks rather than every month. And it's going to be just me, Bob, and some random person, and it's just a random off-topic thing. So we'll have structured things that's like planned, and then we'll have a podcast that's just us talking.
Definitely. I think like any excuse for me to like basically, I say take time off work. It's like 8 p.m. for me, but I'm still like, yeah. Let's do it. Any time to talk about cool stuff, I'm literally going to be sat there. It's like, oh, you worked overtime, did you? I was like, I guess, kind of.
Don't ask questions you don't want answers to, okay? That's what I've learned. Okay. So our special guest, Van. You are our product manager. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your time with Corsair, your gaming experience?
Yeah, for sure. So hey everyone, my name is Van. I'm a product manager here at Corsair. I'm one of many product managers, but the team that I work on is focused on gaming peripherals, specifically gaming keyboards and gaming mice. It's my first time here on the show, so I'm excited to answer any questions you guys have for me.
I'm super excited to have you here. So tell me, what games have you been playing lately, though?
I play a lot recently. I've been on a very big Valorant binge.
Ooh.
By 5 second night, we've been trying to grind up our Valorant ranks. So I've been spending a few hours every night playing Valorant.
Valorant came out right when I stopped getting into those kind of games, and so I haven't had a chance to check into it, but I'm like obsessed with the art style and watching all of my friends play. Like, it's such a beautiful game.
Yes, definitely. It can also be a pretty stressful game, especially when you're trying to grind out ranked mode, but at the end of the day, it's really fun. Art style is really good. Gameplay is really good.
Fortunately for me, I can make any game stressful, so it's fine.
Remind me.
PTSD from Helldivers now. Don't kill me again, Lucky. No more.
That's part of the game. Don't
Keep telling yourself that.
It was really funny. Sorry, this is totally sidetracked, but we were playing Helldivers and Bijan was there with me, and I had my mortar out and it killed him, and he's like, "Oh my god, you just killed me." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." And I like walked away, and then his mortar killed me, and we're like, "It's fair." It was like almost instantly right after mine killed him. I was like, this is a trade-off. It's fine. This is how this game's supposed to be. Oh, and I have to know, because this is a question I ask everybody who comes onto the show. Van, what are some of your favorite Corsair products?
Good question. I think I need to think about this one.
I know, this is a question I didn't give you at the time.
I'll tell you. I can do my one to fill out the time if you want, Van, because we're actually a couple of the ones that you've worked on as well, like the ones actually we're going to be talking about today, because I'm being really cheeky. I was like immediately just like, I have all of this here. It's all here. So this is why everyone's like, why is Bob on a Thursday? Because he gets to talk about these.
It's so funny. I gave Van a list of the questions we're going to be asking ahead of time so he could prepare, but this was not one of them. So I'm putting him on the spot and just be like, yeah, so what's your favorite?
Actually, okay, I did think of one. So I think my favorite product kind of comes and goes, but I think currently, because I am playing a bunch of Valorant, I've actually been really into the M75 Air.
I was wondering if you use that for your Valorant.
I do, yes, I do. And that's probably the best mouse that we make for Valorant. So I've been having a great time with that.
Oh, no, such a great choice. I I've also been a fan of it. I've been using the RGB wireless one, and it's just so nice. And I've been messing with it because I've had people in the community that's like, "Hey, can you enable the other side buttons as well on top of the main buttons?" And I was like, "You know what? Because I have it, I'm going to experiment." And so it's been such a fun mouse to play with.
Nice, nice.
But okay, we have more things on the M75 soon. First, let's go ahead and hop into the K65, the K65 Plus Wireless specifically. I know a lot of people have had questions about it. It's been a keyboard that I've been using for the last like 10 weeks or so. I've been showcasing it on stream, so I'm a huge fan. My favorite thing is the fact that it is just 75% hot swappable. This is our model Bob, as you can see, modeling the product for us.
Any opportunity to show it off, I'm like, look, have a closer look. Close. You want it?
I appreciate you because I have mine plugged in because I'm a terrible person at not charging my stuff properly. So, so we have Bob the model and it's fantastic. But yeah, so one of the questions that came up, and this is just for people who just, are starting to get into keyboards and things to consider, is what does hot swappable mean? That is a thing that we throw out there. That's a thing we're like, this is a feature, this is something people want, but what is it?
So, hot swappable. This is actually something that I know people have asked Corsair to make for a very long time, which is hot swappable keyboards. So, basically, a standard mechanical gaming keyboard, you'd have like fixed switches on there, basically soldered switches. The switches are soldered onto the PCB, and they are essentially you're kind of stuck with those switches. The switches is what you get is what you have to use for the entire lifespan of the keyboard. Hot swappable, what that means is that you can actually remove switches off the keyboard now and replace it either with the same switch, so you can easily repair your keyboard, or you can actually take out all of the switches and replace them with a different feeling and different sounding type of switch. So it gives you a lot more room for customization when it comes to your keyboard. So I think the K65 Plus Wireless, if I'm not mistaken, this is actually our second keyboard that we've launched with this hot swappable feature.
That's awesome. I definitely know that a lot of people have been asking about it. Like with the previous keyboards that came out just before the K65, everyone's like, "Is it hot swappable? Is it hot swappable?" And I was like, "Calm down. We'll get there, I promise." So no, that's a really cool feature, and I know that a lot of people thoroughly enjoy. I think Bob, you actually did a live stream with that, didn't you?
I did. I actually managed to take the entire thing apart and put it back together. I was kind of demonstrating this as you were talking through it as well. I was obviously just showing you how it's hot swappable. It's mainly because I'm like, look, all of the cool things I've learned whilst go through this keyboard. I think to speak to that, it's when I did the stream and we took the whole thing apart, it literally was the tool that it comes with and one screwdriver. And I thought that was really cool because my original understanding is that hot swappable keyboards and keyboards like this, you would need a soldering iron to be able to put back together and all this sort of stuff. And this doesn't need it. Like it's built for someone like me, which is a complete and utter keyboard noob. And it's now turned me from the kind of person going, it's a keyboard, it does a thing, press keys, letters come out, a bit more advanced than that. But like then I was like, oh wow, okay, all the things that you can do, learning all about the switches, learning how different ones like sound, feel, the pre-lubrication, all of these sorts of things. And now I'm just addicted and I need more. I just need more like switches and more like keycaps and all these things to change it with. I'm very excited.
All of the keycaps I've been seeing people post, I'm just like, oh, I really need to get some. This is actually a question for a little later, but I'm gonna bring it up now anyway, because this is a thing that a lot of people still ask is, do we have any plans for selling compatible keycaps for the K65 Plus, or is Drop just the place to go for that? Like, can you give the little community a little behind the scenes hint?
Yeah, for sure. So as of today, probably the best place to get alternative keycaps for the keyboard is going to be drop.com. But having said that, on the Corsair side, we are working on alternative keycap sets. They're not quite ready just yet, but I'd probably say later this year, you'll probably start to see some new designs, new colorways coming out of us. So look forward to that.
God. I love this. See, this is
I
why.
was kind of I didn't know chat. Like, I did not know this was coming. Like, this is actually news to me. So, like, that reaction from me was a genuine reaction. I'm like, wait, what? We got one now? Hello?
Right?
What?
It's like, see, this is why I love doing this podcast. We get to get little behind the scenes stuff, just little bits. Not a lot of info, still obviously secret, but things to look forward to.
Mhm.
So this is I'm sticking with some of the questions that were just a high demand and I've seen since the keyboard has been released. And this one is just more of like a funny question. Is we say it's a 75% keyboard, but why do we call it K65?
I figured this question would come up sooner or later.
I have to
So,
know.
yeah, so just a little bit of insider info, I guess. So K65, the 65, the numbered part, our intention is to not really have that tie in with a specific form factor. Our numbering system basically means the higher, the better. For example, our K100 keyboard, that's kind of like our flagship keyboard with all the bells and whistles that we put into it. It's our most feature pack. Therefore, 100 is the biggest number. The 100 has the most amount of features in there. We also have our K70 series, which is kind of like our mainline gaming lineup. The K70 doesn't necessarily mean it's like a 70% form factor. K70 just means it's more like our premium upper mid-range type of gaming keyboard. In Corsair definition, K65 means kind of like our smaller form factor keyboards. So specifically the K65 Plus Wireless, it's a 75%. And I can kind of see where the confusion does come from because nowadays kind of people are very big into form factors, right? So
Right.
60%, 65%, 75%. It does cause some kind of confusion there. So we have heard, some people kind of raise this up to us. So actually moving forward, we are considering whether we need to change up some of the naming schemes on our future keyboards. That's something that we'll kind of have to wait and see for future releases.
Interesting. I wasn't expecting to hear that we might be changing up the naming convention.
Just to try to make it easier, again, the most common comment we've been hearing is that, hey, K65, it's a 70% keyboard. What is going on?
Right. Yeah.
We want to avoid these types of confusions moving forward. So, it is something that is on our to-do list to review.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. And I feel like this is also just a fun thing to share with the communities. Like, we hear you guys. We are listening to all of your feedback. Don't feel like you're going unheard. So, no, I'm excited to see what kind of naming convention we might go for. Okay, so my personal favorite part about this that I've also agreed with a lot of people is I love the design of this keyboard. I think the aesthetic for it is really fun. It's kind of not necessarily focused on just being like a gamer with that like hardcore aesthetic. Like, it's very appeasing and goes with so like a wide variety of different styles and aesthetics. And so I was curious if you had any ideas or know of like what the thought process was behind the design of the keyboard.
Yeah, so I mean, Corsair, we've been making gaming keyboards for a very long time, and our previous keyboards have always been very traditionally gamer focused, right? I mean, very heavily emphasized on the RGB as well as like sharp, aggressive looking angles. For the K65 Plus Wireless, we kind of had a different audience in mind. We kind of wanted to create like a little bit more of a hybrid mechanical keyboard where it works for gaming, but can also work for productivity. So because of that, we've kind of wanted to go with a little bit more of an understated, subtle approach. So that's why we kind of focus more on like a minimal, clean aesthetic that can fit into more setups. So whether you have like a, RGB gaming den or whether you're like a Mac OS productivity power user, like the keyboard kind of fit into both scenarios.
I just saw Bob take a look at his RGB layout.
My RGB den is what I'm calling. It's a new name now. Like, it's interesting though. I kind of want to touch a point there, which is really fantastic. So, for context, I used to use. So I have two PCs. Well, I have three PCs in this room. I have two PCs that I actively use at this setup here. One being my streaming PC and one being my gaming PC. And it's really interesting how that you say, obviously, that it fits more scenarios. It fits in better because, like, a few things that like I kind of made the decision. So I used to have the K100 RGB, which was my daily driver. I use that with the G keys and all that fun stuff in terms of all the cool things that you can do with the K100. And obviously the pass through as well and all those cool features. And I was like, and I still love that keyboard a lot, but what I was wanting to do is have more space on my desk and like more like capability to be able to switch between things. And I actually use this for my daily driver and work. So I work from home, so I do this like all my work on here as well. And then when I turn on my gaming PC, what I actually have, because I have this linked up via the wireless to my streaming PC or my work PC that I can do my day-to-day stuff. And then when I want to go and play some games, I actually just plug it into the removable USB-C, which I'm hoping you can see in this view. You do it to hook it into there and then just switch it. Literally, I'm going to do all the demonstrations now, but let's do the little switch there and switch it up to that PC. So it's just one of those things where I know for a lot of content creators, they'll have that thing where they have multiple PCs and they're always using one at the same time and they have to have 2 keyboards and 2 mice and all this sort of stuff, and it gets really cumbersome. But this is like so perfect for me because, again, like you say, it looks so good. It doesn't feel like it is too overtly gamery, and obviously you got which I love this for just when I'm working. I don't necessarily need it too much when it's daytime and it's working. I can see the keys, but then when I'm, as you've said, in my RGB den, and I get to go full tilt. So I love that. And I love how versatile it is. So for me to go from 2, because I was running the K100 RGB and the K70 Max, like 2 full-size keyboards, and I've gone down to 75%. So and this just does everything I need it to do. So yeah, definitely the reason I would literally weaseled my way onto this podcast, because I just get to talk about gush over this keyboard.
No, I freaking love it. And I'm the same way. Like the design has just been so good. It's much better than I expected it to be, because I'm used to having the full size keyboard. I was using the K70 Max, and I was even like, oh, I'm probably going to switch between both of them because I do like them a lot. But as I've been using the K75, I'm like, oh my God, this, like, the design is really nice. The real, like, desk real estate that I get because of how compact it is just lovely, and it really does fit in a lot better with my aesthetic because I don't really have an RGB den. So
Speaking of form factors, so 75%, you guys mentioned it, but I think, me personally, that's actually my favorite form factor. I think it fits into so many different scenarios where you have like the full function row, you have your arrow keys, so it kind of works well in a little bit of everything. And it gives you, that smaller, more compact size, which for me as a Valorant player, I really personally like, because when I'm playing Valorant, I'm like, my right hand is like
flying,
moving all over the place.
I have a question that's totally unrelated to this. It's better for the mice, but I have to know, like, what is your DPI settings?
My DPI settings. Personally, I use 1600 DPI. Valorant in-game, it's 0.15 in-game sensitivity.
Oh my God. You are one of those people that flies. That makes a lot of sense to have the 75% then. You need that room.
Yes.
Okay. So back to the design for a second, because this has been a conversation a lot of people have asked. Is there a possibility of a white K65 or other colors maybe? Like, any hints you can give us?
White is definitely something that's on our radar. Ooh. I think since the standard colorway has come out, I think the most common request we've seen is to do a white colorway. So it is something that we are looking into. I don't have an exact time frame on when we'd be able to do this by, but it is something that our team is looking into.
Oh, that's so exciting, though. Like, I'm not going to pry any like dates or anything from you. The fact that you're giving us anything is wonderful. So bless. But see, now everybody knows what to wait for, because there's some sneaky people that have been hanging out on the various like Corsair websites. One of them found the starter guide for the keyboard, and in the starter guide for a lot of the products, it's actually just like the most basic of renders of the products, so it showcases really nicely, but because it's such a basic form, it's just like a pure white. And so they were linking it in the Discord, like, is a white version coming? Did they leak the white version in the starter guide? Is that what this is? I'm like, no guys, that's just how we do starter guides. I promise.
It's like the drawing of it in IKEA, and you're like, wait, hold on, I didn't order the white one. It's like, that's just no, it's
That's
just
just
the
the
outlines,
yeah.
guys. It's just... I love that someone's like that passionate about that though. That's so cool.
I know. The community is so funny. I freaking adore them, and I love seeing all the stuff that they come up with. So part of the design, is there any possibility for a full-sized keyboard with the same aesthetic?
Full size. That is something that we haven't really heard too much comments about, but it is something that, I mean, if there is enough demand in the community, definitely that is something that we could put out. I feel like for the K65 Plus Wireless, I mean, the intended use case is more of like a hybrid gaming / productivity keyboard. So I think a full size keyboard would kind of lend itself very well to that use case,
Yeah.
because I think for productivity users, having that numpad is pretty essential, right? Whether in Excel or whether you're in some, Photoshop, Premiere, some creative application, we can use the numpad as a macro pad of sorts. So that's kind of interesting. So I would say for this one, probably if there is enough demand for it, that is something that we could consider.
I love that.
I actually have an off script question. Speaking of like macro pads and all this sort of stuff, because one of the things that I'm most of a fan of, and this was before I even joined Corsair, was the G keys. When the obviously when Elgato was acquired by Corsair, that was one of the coolest things that I'd ever seen. Because I was like, oh my god, they've like retroactively gone back and added like a Stream Deck to my keyboard. Can that happen for more keys? Could that be a thing that we can see? Because that's like, for me, like I'm now sat here and like my mind's whirring, because I don't use F keys, for example. I don't use them in a day-to-day reference, but I'd love to be able to like customize stuff like that. Is that something that we might be able to see in the future? Is that even doable?
Yeah, I'd say if we were to create a full-size K65 keyboard, I mean, we wouldn't just want to just simply make it bigger. We'd want to make it, something a little bit more special. So G keys is something that we definitely consider. Having additional media keys as well is something that's always been very popularly received. Having direct controls to your music playback, additional volume controls. So yeah, I think G keys is something that we'd have to take a look at for a full-size K65.
That'd be amazing. I love this so much.
I love that.
Yeah.
Music to my ears. I'm kind of just out here going through my wish list now. I go, so can we get?
We're just gonna send you a list of things. Like, I'm definitely one of the people in the crowd that's like, are we ever gonna sell our own numpads? That way, for the times that I need one, I can just plug it in. I mean, you don't have to answer that. That's just my wish list that I'm throwing at you, just so you know.
I think both of you guys should send me your wish lists.
Yes. And I'm gonna say that it's
you've opened the plug. That's a mistake. It's not just me. I've got like I stream every week, and every time it's like, okay, and I'm like, oh, actually, that's a really cool idea. Let me ask. Right, cool. I'm just gonna make a little form that automatically goes to your email now. Just go, hey,
please link me to that form. Thank you. On the somewhat opposite end, though, is there a potential for a low-profile K65 in the future? That has also been something I've seen quite a few people ask about.
We have made a few low-profile keyboards in the past. So I guess my answer for this question would be kind of same as before. If there is enough demand for a low-profile version of the keyboard, that is something that we could add to our lineup for sure. Again, low profile and 75% like minimalistic kind of goes together, right? So it does make sense from like a product perspective. So again, I think we'll just kind of stay tuned for how much people are requesting for a low profile design, and if there's enough demand, we could definitely make it happen.
Perfect. And actually, that's a good question in chat. For those who don't know what low profile is, would you be able to let them know?
Yeah, so when you think of mechanical keyboards, you think of like, full height switches. So they have a certain amount of thickness to them. Low profile, basically, you switch to a lower, skinnier switch. So that allows the keyboard to be kind of more thin overall. So people typically like this for a couple of reasons. One reason being aesthetics. Having a lower profile keyboard just looks more clean, more simple, more minimalistic. And the second reason is actually in terms of ergonomics. Some people actually prefer a lower height keyboard, maybe because they have some wrist issues or maybe their fingers are shorter. Those people would actually feel more comfortable typing for a longer time on a low profile keyboard versus a standard full height keyboard.
I love that. And that is just something that makes my heart sing because of the fact that I'm big on accessibility. And so the idea of having just all these different keyboards to appeal to different folks. Thank you, Bob. You are like I feel like this is more like you're a flight attendant and
This
you have the captain speaking and you're doing the like getting set up situation here.
I like that. This is my jam. Like, interestingly, this is why I keep saying to people is that every time I go, hey, I need to try this product out, and they're like, oh, why? Like, what do you need this for? What's the business reason?
Right
And
here.
like, this is it. This is it. This is why I need all of the things we make, and 3 of them, please. Thanks. Um, But no, that was actually the K100 was actually for that exact reason. So interestingly, speaking of it to accessibility, so my son who has Down syndrome, he has issues in terms of coordination. So as he's learning, what we wanted to be able to do is actually have a keyboard not only I could use and is very like low drag in terms of being able to type when I use over there, but also it's great for him because he's actually able to see the keys. There's nothing that interferes. It doesn't like accidentally hit some of the other ones. It's a lot easier to be able to type. So yeah, I first-hand knowledge of that as well, which is really great.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. And that's really good to know that that's like something that we would consider and potentially look into. So, as an aside, in the Discord, I have a channel called Silly Polls, and it's where I just make random polls that ask the community that's just completely random topics just to kind of have a fun conversation going. So maybe I'll just ask them, be like, so do you want a low profile K65? And we'll see what the poll says.
I need one in there that says MGX switches on everything. K, thanks.
That is a question that some people had. Is like, will we ever sell our switches as something that people can just buy? And will the K65 ever come with different switches in the future?
So I guess I have a couple answers to this part. I will say for Corsair, recently we've been focusing on developing a lot more of our own design switches. So on the K65 Plus Wireless, for example, this keyboard ships with Corsair MLX switches. So these are your standard, or not standard, but these are kind of like your more like a linear switch, which is kind of what most people are used to, where it has like a smooth travel. It's prelude to kind of give it a better feel and sound. On the other side, we have our MGX switches, which are our new magnetic switches. These are currently available on the K70 Max keyboard. The cool thing about magnetic is like you can actually do a lot of really powerful stuff with it, like adjust the actuation point. You can do 2 actions in 1 key press, and you can also enable rapid trigger, which is really useful for those who play like competitive FPSs like CS or Valorant. Oh yeah. There's a K70 Max right there. But because we're still focused on developing more of our internal switches, actually very soon we'll have a lot more switches that our customers and community can choose from. So we are actually thinking about launching more keyboards with this additional switch varieties. So hopefully people will be able to kind of experience more Corsair design switches moving forward. As far as getting standalone switches from us, you cannot do that today, but that is something that we actually might consider to do for the future. Once we have, more versions of Corsair MLX on the market, we might consider selling standalone switch packs.
I know a lot of people will be happy to hear that that's a potential, depending on the demands and everything, of course. But no, I know a lot of people like the different switches. There's somebody in chat who also just keeps asking about MGX switches, which is exactly what Bob just had asked. So it's just
I'm about to say, I feel like somebody's going to ask if that's my alternate account at some point, because I'm with you on MGX so much. I would like say the same sort of thing. I'd love to be able to have like a keyboard with like multiple different switch types, like the WAS and D having those MGXs on them and being able to do like those kind of really customized things. I'm in love with the K70 formats when it's for competitive. That, and I know we're going to talk about it shortly, the M75 Air, but just such a great blend of allowing you to do things that can actually almost make you seem good in competitive games. I mean, I'm still average, but like it's like I used to be terrible. Like I'm moving along the line, which is great. But yeah, more of them, please.
I feel like I remember there was a study that I read where it took someone who doesn't play competitive games and they gave him like the best possible gear aimed for that specific competitive game. And then they took a competitive player and gave them like the worst possible gear, like the one that's not created for that specific game that they're playing. And they had like proof that, yeah, even the worst possible gamer with the best gear will have like an advantage in terms of what it is they're doing, just because of like the reaction times, how things are designed, how they can customize the things and stuff like that. So I know to some people it sounds like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work, but when you're into the game that you're playing and you put the effort into, getting those high-end products and putting the effort to customize them, it makes like a world of difference. So it's just funny to me every time Bob's just like, I used to be worse, but now I'm better.
There's actually something on this which is quite funny. It's a weird thing for someone who's employed by the company that makes the products to say something like this. So and I am kind of jumping ahead here, but I was told, I was like, hey, we've got a new mouse coming out. We'd love you to talk about it on stream. And I'm like, I'm a huge fan of the Scimitar Elite Wireless. Like, I was Scimitar Elite, and I obviously just when I joined they released the wireless, so I was like freaking out about that. But I was like, oh no, I'm good. I've got your best mouse. Like, don't worry about it. I'm covered. And they were like, well, you might like this one. Like, give it a go. I was like, there's only 2 buttons on the side. What's this about? And they were like, it's built for purpose. I was like, okay, let's see. It's like, it's built for competitive. You love Apex, don't you? I was like, yeah, okay, fine. I'll try it. I'll give it a go. See if I like it. And I was 100% going, I'm never going to use this. This hasn't left my desk since that day. It's literally like the way it like changed things up for me. I was just so convinced that I wasn't going to enjoy it, and I was so convinced that I couldn't live without like the numpad as well, like on the K65 Plus. And I've just been blown. Like, my mind's been blown both times. I'm just like, yep, no, I'm good. Yeah, I'm never living this again.
I love that. It's really remarkable just when you get something that you're like, this won't make a difference, and then it just like blows you away. You're like, wow, this made like all the difference. So no.
Yeah, I definitely encourage people to give it a go, especially with those things that, again, purpose-built stuff, because we are doing a lot of really, especially in the past few months, we've done some really cool things around purpose-built like peripherals, and actual use case focused peripherals, rather than doing, hey, this thing has things, or it's smaller or it's bigger. It's like, it's not, as Vanny, as you said, which I think is a real testament to the product teams actually listening to the community and just everybody like who's giving us this feedback. It is actually getting heard. It takes a long time to turn that ship, right? But that stuff's actually been heard and listened to, and people are actually, I think people are seeing it now as well. And you see, obviously in chat, everyone's like, more about MGX, because we know people are invested in these kind of like things, and it's great to see that kind of response as well. So I guess what I'm trying to say for everybody is, the team definitely hears this stuff. It's not a marketing thing. We go, we're hearing what you're saying, guys. We've completely, it's like, it's legitimate. We are taking that feedback on and really trying to action that in a meaningful way.
Yes.
I say we, I'm not doing anything. The product team are amazing.
We're putting this podcast together to make people sit and listen and do the thing for us. So it's fine. So just part of customization. So a lot of the one feature that I know a lot of people also enjoy about this keyboard that I also really love is the rotary dial. I think it's fun. It's convenient. It's just a beautiful little touch, but it makes a world of difference of what I can do with it. People have asked, like, can it be customized beyond what it already does? And if not, like, is there any possibility it could be in the future?
So from a function standpoint, the rotary dial, I think out of the box, it should be set to control your volume. But we actually have 4 different modes that you can kind of switch to kind of customize the functionality. So you can choose to scroll up or down. You can choose the wheel to do scroll in and out, as well as you can choose the scroll wheel to control your brightness. That's kind of the functions we have for now. We are open to adding more features down the road through software, through firmware software updates. If there are genuinely useful functions that our customers are asking for.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. Um,
Mhm. From
so
a hardware perspective,
yeah.
too, I think from the color wise, I think we have the silver that comes with the standard black model. But for the white model, as well as potential future colorways, that is probably going to also change as well. We may review selling standalone knobs. I mean, it does make sense to do so, especially if we are planning to do future switch packs. We may also release standalone knobs to kind of help add that customization as well.
No, that's awesome. And standalone knobs. I'm just so excited. Like this is just making me look forward to the future of what my freaking desk layout's gonna look like.
Well, I think it's interesting because we've actually had, and I know someone's in chat actually who was very eagle-eyed and noticed that there is a separate variation that is in China only, I believe, and it does have a different colored knob. And they're like, oh, "I need this, I need it." So I definitely think there's a demand there, and it's really cool to see too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I have just a
Yeah,
couple.
for that
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
for that China exclusive model, I think that
Oh
was
yeah,
actually a gold colorway.
it
So that one
Yes,
was.
had a
yeah.
gold knob. But here in the States and Europe, we have a silver knob. So the knob is capable of being taken out and replaced with something else. We'll just have to make those additional colorways for people if we do decide to want to go down this route.
I'm
Awesome.
so excited. Ooh, I
I just
just
want a purple one now. I'm like, right, okay. So
right
what about how do I
though.
how do I get this?
I can match it
Because
with
there's
my Stream Deck Plus
I
dials.
was just gonna say that because that's also like for me, I still have I have two Stream Deck Pluses because I'm like a fanatic about Stream Decks, but I don't have any of the dials yet. So I think that's gonna be my next thing is like customizing that, and I think I'd love to see that kind of thing on the K65 as well. That's very exciting.
Um, this is just a funny question I just saw in chat, and I'm not sure really we have an answer for it. But someone goes, as someone who speaks British English, why do you prefer knob over dial?
I think it's the
Is it
same way that I giggle every time we say pre-lubed. I think that's the same reason that we'll say like knob over dial, quite frankly. I will leave you with that information and you can interpret any way you wish.
I
uh,
think that's actually been a topic of some internal meetings we've had recently.
oh
Is
my
I
god,
think
amazing.
internally at Corsair, some people we call it a rotary dials, others people call it a rotary knob, and yeah, we have heard that knob may not be the most appropriate term to use. So we're trying to train ourselves to use more the term rotary dial more often, but sometimes we still let it slip there here and there.
That's so funny. I love that that was a
I
question.
was looking at I was looking in IQ and I was like, oh wait, hold on, let's see what IQ says. IQ is going to be the final like decision maker, and it does say dial. So we'll
Uh,
maybe have to revert to dial.
Okay, this is more of a technical question, but one that I feel like is just very helpful to know. So, a lot of our switches, and this is more of like a general question for the switches, not specifically the K65. But, whenever we list our switches, we're like, oh, this will last for 70 million keystrokes, this will last 150 million keystrokes. But, people are like, how is this durability calculated and what's like a standard? How do we know? Like, is 70 million good, but this one's 150 million? Like, why would I choose one over the other?
So the way that we calculate this durability is we actually press the key 70 million times.
I assume it's
So
a
we
machine and
actually
not a
Yourself, man.
person. Oh yeah,
it's
is
not a
it you,
person,
Van,
no.
specifically?
I'm just sitting there 9 to 6. Oh, that's my job.
Got one finger that's really muscly.
But yeah, we in our lab we actually have a dedicated machine. The whole purpose of this machine is actually just to repeatedly press keys over and over. So we let this machine run 24/7 for months on end, and basically this just presses the key down over and over and over until the key eventually fails after however tens of millions of presses that it goes through. So the MLX Red switch, the mechanical switch that ships with the K65 Plus Wireless, we tested this up to 70 million. So that's kind of our guarantee. Our OPX switches, which is our optical switch, these actually last much longer, where they are rated for up to 150 million keystrokes. Our magnetic switches, MGX, those are rated for up to 100 million. So just depending on the different switch technology, the switch construction, you do have different lifespan ratings because you can only press the keys until eventually it starts to wear down and tolerances become looser and looser, and eventually they just stop functioning. So we think that our rating of 70 million plus is pretty strong, and we are pretty confident that it will definitely. I think we're very confident that a user will not reach 70 million in any realistic daily use scenario. That's a lot of key presses. Our machine takes months and months and months to basically just repeatedly slamming on the one single key to get to that amount. So as a daily normal use, I mean, the switches will last you for years and years and years.
Awesome.
I actually have a side question to that, I guess, like a thing. Essentially, one of the kind of benefits as well, though, and I think we talk about, like, obviously we referenced this right at the start of the podcast. If you do have a switch that for any reason would like fail or break, or if you do manage to for some reason play a game that has that many QTE event events that you need to actually like replace on the keys. One of the cool things obviously is the fact that it's hot swappable, right? So in theory you can take that switch out if there's an individual switch broken, rather than something that's obviously soldered to the keyboard. You could actually take that out and then replace it with another one, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's the beauty of hot swap, is if you have one switch that's faulty or damaged for some reason, you can just simply just take out that singular switch, replace it with a backup, and then you have a perfectly working keyboard again. A soldered keyboard, you wouldn't be able to do that unless you knew how to unsolder the switch, but most people, that's a little bit too advanced for them. So on a normal soldered keyboard, if you had one faulty switch, you'd probably almost have to get rid of the entire keyboard and replace the entire keyboard. But with K65 Plus Wireless, you don't have to do that. You can just replace one singular switch. Makes it a lot easier and simpler for people to repair and to enjoy for a long time.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I was just curious. I never really thought about it in that sense. I was like, obviously you want to be able to customize and do all these sorts of things. But yeah, if you're someone like me who like almost like broke one of my key switches when I was being I'll say not super attentive whilst like placing the keys switches back in, it's really great to know that you can obviously do that, and that's another capability. And again, like like switching out stuff for like different purposes. I know I want my WAS and D to probably be, so I want to, when I start doing some modding, is like change those things out. So that would be really cool as well. Again, MGX. No, anyway.
No, that was really informative, and definitely I know a lot of people in the community who are just, again, getting into keyboards and trying to understand like what things to look out for and stuff like that. Like, it's super helpful and very valuable. So thank you for that info. The last question I had for you just about the keyboards, because I know that I'm monitoring time and all that good stuff. It's just, out of everything we've already discussed, is there anything about the K65 that is just like a standout feature for you that you're just like, wow, this is something on this keyboard that I genuinely love, I haven't really experienced before, and I think it's great? Just, something that would be worth knowing.
Yeah, definitely. If I had to point out one thing on the K65 Plus, it's the typing experience, meaning the feel, the sound. That's something that we worked really hard here to try to improve. We know that there's the keyboard hobby, it's exploded over the past few years. So people are really expecting great sounding keyboards. I mean, not just great performing, but great sounding keyboards nowadays. So for K65 Plus Wireless, we actually spent a lot of time tuning the internal housing. We put sound dampening materials inside of it. We pre-lubricated our switches. We've switched over to screw-in stabilizers to make it more stable and secure. But all of this kind of helps to add to that premium typing experience. So I will say that I think K65 Plus Wireless is probably our best sounding, our best feeling keyboard to date. And I'm kind of excited that, with the release of this, like our next keyboards coming over the next few years, I mean, they are just going to be taking this formula and kind of improving it from here.
No, that's awesome. And I totally agree. That was something that when I got this keyboard, I just started typing on it and I was like, whoa, like the drastic difference in how this types compared to the K70. I was like, this is so like, this is buttery smooth. I love it. And it's definitely something that I've like pushed to everybody else. I'm pretty sure that my husband is going to steal my K75 because we're in the middle of like moving. And so we're gonna have to reset up our PCs and everything. And I'm pretty sure he's gonna take this from you and I'm not looking. So yeah.
I also like that there's a whole new, this is something, because I was completely new to this, because I'm used to, like, I really like clicky clacky keyboards, and I was like, oh, I love the clicky clack, and everyone's like, oh, it's like, you know, you get people who aren't used to like gaming like scenarios stuff, like, oh, I don't really know about like mechanical things, or I don't want it to be too loud. I was like, you need to try these switches, because I didn't realize, and especially this keyboard, right? Because obviously we have the MLX Reds on the K70 Core, which are obviously soldered in, but like I was like trying this out and I was like, that's not a clicky clack. What is that? And I got told that I didn't know this was a term, but it's thocky, isn't it? Is that like what's used to describe it? And I love that. Just in itself, that's enough reason for me to get a keyboard and another one of these, to be honest, just so I can use the word thocky more. But it's such a great sound and feel that you want, like someone like me who's not really had much experience like before joining Corsair with like much variety. It's been like old style keyboard, one that everybody would have, like just a like regular membrane or something, and then coming up to mechanical, I was like, oh, Corsair keyboards are the best. And I was like, but I don't want to change. This is it. This is me. And then going to this, and it's like, it's such a drastic change that at first it took me a little bit getting used to. I was like, this feels strange. It feels it, but then it just feels so good after a while. And again, one of the reasons I switched to this, it's very much a beautiful experience, I'd say, when typing, which is not something I'd use to describe using a keyboard like a year ago. So it's really cool.
No, I think that's funny because I have a very similar experience. I used to love like mechanical, really clicky clacky, just loud sounding keyboards. Like to me, that's my ASMR. Like I could listen to someone type all day and I'm just like, yeah. But after doing this one, I'm like, can I go back? I kind of really like this.
MLX Reds are definitely a lot more quieter than our previous gaming keyboards. So, you know, our intention there was, you know, we want to make things a little bit more soothing, more relaxing. So if you're using your keyboard for hours and hours on end, it won't drive yourself crazy or your neighbor crazy. But I guess maybe I probably could share this, but I mean,
Ooh.
there are people who also still like non-linear switches, so tactiles and clickies. So something that is being worked on are different versions of MLX. So we might have it MLX clicky, MLX tactile. I'm hoping sometime this year, but that's something that our team is working on.
God.
So for people who want something a little bit different than a linear switch, we will eventually have, you know, something for them.
Can I just say, I freaking love this podcast. Like the things that
I
we're
am
learning.
never letting you do one of these without me. I'm gonna duck and weave my way onto every single one of these now. Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
I'm so excited. We got a little carried away because of the topic at hand, but I'm cool. We're good. We're still good on time, but I just want to let everybody know this might go just a little bit longer than usual, especially because, you know, it's Bob coming up. So, you know.
Okay, I get it. I talk a lot. I understand.
But yeah, thank you so much for all the info on the K65. I think that answered a good chunk of the questions from the community. And I know there were a couple lingering questions, so I'm going to reach out to you after the fact and just see if we can get a couple more answers that I can just share directly into the different chats that I've posted. But yeah, no, I feel like we've learned so much about the K65, and I'm just excited for what we have in store for it. All right.
I'm excited as well. I think there was a bunch of great questions, and I was very happy to help answer and give some insider info on these on the keyboard.
That makes me so happy. All right. So now for the other product that we've been waiting for, the M75 family.
Hold on, I don't have all three. I do have the other one, but I have it away.
Thank you, Model John.
I'm gonna dance with these.
Model Bob.
I do actually, just before we move on to the M75, I had seen something interesting, chat, which I think I actually have the knowledge to be able to answer, which is why make your own switches? Why not partner with somebody who's already made a huge variety? And I know, I think, Van, obviously, you could probably speak to this a little bit as well, but we do actually partner with a bunch of, obviously, like Cherry, MX, especially on the K100 Air. We have their ultra low profile switches, which are, you don't tend to see too often anyway. We do work with the partners, but I think there's a few reasons. And again, like one of them is very much going to be that we have the ability to be able to play around with things a little bit more. We obviously have the option of being able to like sell these direct, which is also a thing. Obviously we are able to, I believe one of them, and quote me if please do correct me if I'm wrong here, Vad, but obviously when we create our own things, we obviously lower our costs over time, and we can actually be able to, obviously there's initial like outlays and stuff like that, but it allows us to be able to lower our own costs, which then we can pass on to the consumer as well, which is I think something really that we saw with the K65 Plus Wireless, because considering all its features, it's actually a really low MSRP. A lot of people have like seen this. A lot of people I've spoken to are very, very savvy with their keyboards. They're like, that's actually surprisingly affordable, which is definitely something that I think a lot of people kind of don't like really realize at first unless you start stacking up against competitors.
That is 100% correct.
I was about to say, I was like, hopefully I've not said anything completely absurdly incorrect or like so off the mark that I'm gonna have dropped everybody in hot water. But yeah. It was something I was like, I think I know the answer. Let me try. And it's good to have you here, Van, to be able to confirm all my absurdities. But yes, moving on to the M75, and I'm really excited. As you probably tell, I really love the K65 Plus. But another product that I've really, as we touched on earlier, really fallen in love with is the M75 Air in particular, but also the rest of the family. Because obviously, since the M75 Air dropped a few months back, we've obviously dropped the M75 Wireless and the M75, but it's the wired version of the M75 Wireless, and there's some really cool features on there. But can you tell us a little bit of what went into the actual design and like the reasoning around how they were actually changed? Because obviously there's a big switch from what we've made traditionally and like the different shapes to what we're actually going for with this unified design.
Yeah, for sure. So M75, the whole family, it's our newest family of gaming mice. We had a lot of new and exciting things that we want to try out for this new series. First off is the design. We wanted to go with a little bit more of a minimalistic design. We actually took a lot of inspiration from like sports car design elements, so things like sleek lines, trying to emulate taillights and headlights, curved arcs. We wanted to kind of make a very simple, classy looking mouse that can fit into most people's setups. But at the same time, internally, it's still packed with a lot of performance features, such as our marksman sensor, as well as like our Slipstream wireless technology on the wireless models. So, M75 kind of is a different direction for us, but it's something that, we are excited to kind of continue and grow moving forward.
I think it's for the same thing as you said. Like when I actually saw it the first time, I very much thought it was simplified. But then when you start to actually use it, you really feel why those decisions have come through. And I believe there was a few hand studies. There's something I heard. There was a few hand studies in terms of like the way the shape was, like how it came to be. Right? We actually looked. It wasn't that we were just like, oh, we're gonna just try this because look pretty, right? There's reasoning in like around the ergonomics that have like been actually like put into this that have come out, which I thought was really cool, because I would just assumed people just picked a style of mouse because it like, oh, it looks cool, let's do that. But there's reasoning behind that, right?
Yeah, for M75, we actually did an extensive shape study. So we really tried to optimize the size, the weight, the way that you grip the mouse. I think a lot of that, we really tried to optimize it towards more competitive gaming, specifically first-person shooters. So we worked with a lot of people internally and external to get feedback on, hey, what's the best shape for a competitive gaming mouse? And M75 is kind of like our interpretation of that. M75, it is a little bit on the larger side. I would kind of classify that as medium to large. But I will say that that's probably fits most people's hand sizes. A medium to large mouse actually is also more comfortable when you're gaming for an extended amount of time. So if you're playing, hours and hours on end, having a larger mouse kind of gives you some more positions to kind of rest your hand. So kind of reduces some hand strain. So again, you just get to play longer and enjoy that comfort.
So basically what I'm hearing is you wanted to play Valorant for longer, so that's why we've ended up with the M75. Understood.
I play about 3 hours per night, so I need something that can kind of keep my hand not cramping up.
I like it. Good. Well, I mean, it's great. It's great hearing that you're using it for, especially like we're having products that are coming out that people actually like, the people who are helping build these things are actually in that thing rather than having somebody going, oh, that's just some engineer that never plays games. We're actually having this created by gamers, which I think is a huge plus. And again, part of the reason I fall in love with Corsair. So, speaking about weight, we actually, this is one of the questions that we have down here, and I'm gonna throw you a little bit of a curveball here because I was actually curious how we kind of determine the weight for the mice and where we kind of like allow like that threshold, like where do because we obviously cut stuff out with the especially with the M75 Air, we cut a lot of stuff out to be able to get that kind of like that weight kind of class, but it weighs, for those who don't know, it weighs 60 grams. But I'm curious, could we get lower? Could that, what would it take? What would we need to get rid of, like outside of the, you know, like the whole back end of the thing to be able to get there?
Yeah, so M75 Air, it's currently our most lightweight competitive mouse, so coming in at 60 grams.
It's so lightweight.
That being
this
said,
is nothing.
Yeah. There are things that we could do to probably reduce the weight even further. So that is something that, you know, it's something that our team is looking at. But things such as simplify the internal construction even further. We can shave a few grams by kind of rearranging some of the internals, as well as even the outer shell. We could probably do a few things there to kind of tweak to also reduce the weight even further. So that is something that maybe, you know, we might see on a version 2 when that comes out a few years down the road, or whenever that happens. But definitely having more and more lightweight mice, that's kind of high on our priority list for our gaming mice.
I like that. I'm very excited. Like, again, for me, from going from someone who was like, oh, weight doesn't really like make that much of a difference, to going, oh my God, this is huge. Like, yeah, I'd be very interested to see where that ends up going. But it's great because obviously we got a few options, and you might have to remind me on the wired, but the M75 wireless is 79, correct? 79 grams.
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can look it up real quick.
Whilst you're looking at that, I will actually, and just so I've had a few questions, and this is definitely something I kind of wanted to address here because I thought it was really important. So people will be like, wait, hold on, why is the wireless different to the Air, and how is it different? A lot of things to consider. This is our first, I believe, I don't want to like be uncredited, I believe this is our first ambidextrous mouse. So you'll actually see that you have, because of its symmetrical shape, and obviously the fact that this is, I've got a really bright light here, so apologies, you might not be able to see that too well, but it has obviously like so for me, if as someone who's right-handed, you have the buttons on the side, then you also have buttons on the other side. Now that works for me because I actually like using both sides of the mouse, but you can actually have it so it actually comes with the little magnetic buttons that you can actually pull in and out. I'm saying you can pull in and out, and my nails are too short to be able to do this, but let me try and like pull one of these out without again, this is why you don't cut your nails before you try and pull something out with your nails. Here we go. Right, I'm gonna say, guys, that this comes out without like, oh, there we go. I'm just pressing the wrong thing, so you press the switch in. So if you can see there, obviously I've just removed that, and you can actually have, that actually comes with ones that are like flush, and in IQ, like in our IQ software, you can enable and disable one side or another, or if you're like me and you're a little bit like weird, you can have it on both sides and actually enable both sides of the buttons. And that's a highly requested thing that I don't know if we were actively expecting. It seems like we were from the choices in IQ. It was just like, yeah, someone's gonna ask for this, so we best put it in. But it was really great because I was like, oh, that's fantastic, because productivity me like wants those things. But again, back to the weight, a lot of those decisions, obviously, like decisions around being able to have this customizability and the ability for people who are left-handed to be able to use the mice. That's obviously, we have magnets in there, it's wireless, there's a few things that obviously like are in there as well. So for anybody who's still questioning, was like, why is the M75 Air this and why is that is because this allows more features. It obviously has RGB as well. So and I know there's a lot of people are like, okay, I need the M75 Air, I just need it with wireless, and it took me so much not to say anything because I knew it was coming. I was like, all right, yeah, it's a shame, we'll pass the info on. It's like it's 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks, you can just stay quiet, 2 more weeks, you'll be fine. But yeah, really cool how we're looking at weight and having those different classes. I feel like it just, again, purpose-built devices for me is just such a cool thing that I think we're really like focusing on. So I want to move into
question about weight.
Say again, sorry.
Yes.
To answer your previous question about weight, M75, the wired model, it is 74 grams.
That's what it
Okay.
was. I was like, I know it's the 70s. I just don't remember which the second number was.
Speaking of like the variations, and obviously that's a good point to actually kind of like flag up, because the M75 wired and the wireless, they are more or less identical. Obviously, one is wireless, one is wired, but they're only the M75 wireless comes in black or white colorways. Could we maybe expect to see like more? I know, actually, I'm saying this, we actually recently, and I think it's today, the video dropped, which was the M75 Air wireless is now available in white and gray, which I think is really cool. And I just want to find out how we can get one, because I live in the UK and you don't send all the cool colorways my way. But
It's okay. I'll get a gray one and take pictures for you.
okay. I thought you were going to send me one for a second there, and I was led down. I was about to go, will you? And no, you just tore me.
Bob,
Like,
you know who I am.
I know that I should have expected it. I should have expected the double cross there. But I think, yeah, sorry, going back to the question, would we be doing like more colorways for the wired, and maybe potentially even more for like the M75 Air and M75 wireless?
For the wired model, the reason why we stuck with just the standard black colorway was actually we actually did do extensive market research, and it's kind of funny. We actually found for wired gaming mice, people just tended to lean towards the standard black colorway. And then when
Interesting.
you move to wireless mice, that's when people want to get those different colors, such as gray and white. So that's kind of why our initial color offerings were kind of set up like this. But, of course, things can always change moving forward. I mean, I'm going to say this, I've said this a lot, but just depending on our customer demand, we can always make things based on what the market wants. So if there is a noticeable amount of request for different colorways in the wired model, we could definitely do that.
I definitely think if we're going anything by Twitch chat or YouTube comments, pink is definitely up there, as well as white. White is definitely the winner, I think. But yeah, that'd be really interesting and cool to see for sure.
I'm so intrigued by the fact that like there was research done, and it's just, if it's wired, people just don't care about color. Like, that's so fascinating. Now I'm like, I'm gonna go research this later and see if there's reason.
I think that's I think I've just been mentioned in chat. This actually I think it makes a lot of sense if you're doing like wired stuff. Most people who would go for wired, especially nowadays, obviously, because it used to be a thing is like you have to have wired because there's no latency. But obviously, like with Slipstream and obviously like wireless technology is coming along so far, there's no like significant like noticeable difference. So obviously I think more enthusiasts, and I think that's definitely who we encounter a lot more. Like we definitely inquire like more enthusiasts. I think that's obviously like people wanting to get all these white setups. I didn't want a white setup 6 months ago. Since I joined Corsair, I'm like, okay, right now, what do I need? How much do I need to spend? I need to budget this. Is like, do I need that food? No, probably not. I'll be fine.
Going back to university with the instant ramen for dinner.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I just want to make sure it goes nowhere near my new white peripherals. I think we talked about this before, and there was a thing as well, but going on to stuff like hand grip, because somebody actually asked, and I think there was actually a question that came up, is somebody actually asked if it would work well for someone with palm, because obviously a lot of the stuff that we've actually done, we've shown it as a claw grip. And I don't know if that's the marketing team were like, oh, we want to show it in a competitive light or whatever, but does it work for everybody? Would it be able to accommodate for each type of grip?
Yeah, so I will say, I mean, grip styles for mice are so subject to people's own personal tastes and preferences, right? Because basically, at the end of the day, everyone has different size hands. Me, myself, for example, I have very large fingers. On a keyboard piano, I can do an octave plus 2 notes. So I actually tend to kind of lean more towards, preferring larger sized mice. But that's kind of the great thing about the M75 is that, it is a medium to large size mouse, so kind of a little bit more, I guess, you have a little bit more real estate to kind of play with, to kind of shift different grip styles. And also because of the symmetrical shape, it's very neutral as well. So your hand is not really locked into one position. You can actually kind of move around a little bit. You can use palm grip. You can use a claw grip if desired. You can use a hybrid grip and anything in between those styles. So I'd say M75, you can actually, it has a lot of room to kind of play around with and kind of use how best it suits yourself,
Yeah, I really like just the versatility because again, it's stuff that I didn't really think about before, and I know people have said like they've had different preferences around like some of our mice because of the shape, and then I didn't really kind of think of that until we saw the M75, and again that kind of I don't want to call it standardized, but more unified shape within the family. And I was like, why is this happening? And obviously, like finding out about the research and that it is just going to be more viable for more people. And obviously, that's great for us, but it's also great for consumers as well. So I completely get it. And that's great to hear as well, because I know some people kind of fear if they're buying something especially competitive, like whether they can switch these things up. Because I know I play Claw when I'm getting, to be honest, I think it's just an anxiety thing when I'm in a game. I'm getting shot. I'm like, ah. But you can switch between those things, relaxing your hand a little bit more and so on and so forth, which I think is great. We've talked about a lot of the things that I like about this mouse, but I'm really interested in like from your perspective as somebody who's actively worked on, like bringing this thing to life. Like, what's the thing that stood out for you? And I know we might have touched on it already, but what's the one thing, if you were to say that's what makes this special?
I'd say shape and weight for me personally. Again, for me as a Valorant player, I play, having precise aim is very important for me. So having a lightweight mice that I can actually, do quick flicks on, but also stop very quickly is extremely important for me. And having a shape that kind of lends well to being able to be in control of my mice is also very important. So for me personally, I love the M75 Air because of those two reasons. Like I play a lot of Valorant, and I will say that the mouse really helps to let me play at my best performance.
I like how diplomatic you were with your the best that allows me to play to the best of my. That I'm gonna steal that because everyone's like, does it make you better? I was like, it makes me play the best I can.
Hey, that's what's important, right?
Very well. I swear, I feel like you would make a fantastic politician, Van, as well as like, a fantastic product manager.
Yeah, you had me. I was convinced. I was like, yeah, yeah.
Now, I just want to caveat this because this is definitely a couple of things that Lucky has written in and shown some. And I'm very sorry because I don't know if you've been able to look this far down in obviously our run of the show, but and this is something I'm very curious about as well because I'm a big fan of like wireless charging. Is there any potential for having a mouse like, I imagine probably something more on the M75 wireless side of things on having like a wireless charge? Is that possible?
It definitely is possible. I will say that there's been a huge shift towards wireless gaming mice in the recent years, right? Because wireless technology has become so much better. There's little to no performance loss from switching over to a wireless gaming mouse. However, a problem that we've seen that most users have kind of reported is that eventually your wireless mouse runs out of battery. Most people kind of forget to charge their mice, and unfortunately, when your battery's dead, you can't use your mouse. So there's been
We're
kind
all
of
looking at Lucky here, by the way. We're all just like, sorry, you didn't plug your keyboard in?
Why you gotta call me out like this?
To be fair, you did call yourself out first. I'm just doing a callback. This is like...
It's okay if I do it. It's not okay if you do it. Oh my God.
Apologies, man. I do keep interrupting to take jabs at Lucky, but please do continue.
No worries. So, I mean, to prevent mice from running out of batteries and dying, we have seen a lot more people requesting for built-in wireless charging for mouse pads. So that is a point of development that we're looking to do here at Corsair. So I will say maybe keep your eyes open for some future announcements from us.
I'm very excited about that. That's one of my things and what I kind of talk about every time I stream really is where everybody says, oh, like why do you keep harping on about the mouse pads? Now, a mouse pad like can have various competitive features and really like, benefits in terms of, the material that's used and all this sort of stuff. But for me, one of my favorite things is the fact that the Corsair ones that we have obviously have the pass-throughs, like in the pass-throughs in terms of like what's like, I feel like I could show you guys this piece, but give me 2 seconds to be able to get it back on camera because it's literally attached to my desk. I'm going to unplug this. This is probably going to unplug too much stuff from my thing because I have my mouse and my keyboard. But there's a little thing here. Here we go. Which actually has my wireless USB dongles in it, and that obviously has pass-through. That's such a cool feature. And I think if adding stuff like that, like wireless charging and stuff like that, that would be so much fun. That's a big, big request from me. I just realized I think I've lost that cable. This could be really fun to try and replace whilst we're on stream. Yes, I have. Right, okay, well, I'll do this entirely without peripherals. That won't be a problem. Good thing I scrolled down the document. But yeah, again, I think that's one of the cool things, especially for somebody looking at a mouse pad now, even obviously expecting the wireless charging, having those features on there is such a cool thing when you're using wireless peripherals, because I've shifted entirely from wired to completely wireless now. And I have that on both setups here as well. And you really do feel the difference when that obviously happens. So, highly encourage people to check out some of the mouse pads as well. Cheeky little segue into a mouse pad sale there. I'd like, hopefully corporate will enjoy that. But with we do have a couple of questions as well. I think these came up in the Discord and the previous streams as well. But with the RGB off, the estimated, so this is a very wordy one, so I apologize, I will read this one off. With the RGB off, the estimated battery life using Bluetooth is double of the estimated battery whilst using the Slipstream wireless. Can you speak to why that happens, and like if there's a difference in terms of like performance or efficiency or anything like that? Whilst you answer, I'm going to be trying to find this cable so I can have a mouse pad.
Okay, for sure. So with Bluetooth, the maximum report rate is limited to 125 hertz, which is actually a much lower report rate than when you're using our Slipstream wireless technology. So basically what that means is that, you know, in order to get the maximum performance out of your gaming mouse, you definitely want to be on the Slipstream mode. That's where you have the lowest latency and the highest data transfer. Bluetooth is more for a compatibility feature where it's a universal protocol and it just helps you connect to different devices, whether it's a PC, laptop, tablet. Bluetooth could kind of connect to all these types of devices, but it's not really meant to be the highest or the fastest connectivity method. So that's kind of why we have both options available for people to choose. If you want that super fast performance connection, go with Slipstream. You will have a lesser battery life because of that. And if you are not so focused on performance, I would recommend switching over to Bluetooth, so you can have that extended battery life.
Okay, so this kind of makes it so that the mouse is good for kind of like multiple things in your day. So even though the mouse is built with the intention of like a specific kind of gameplay or style, you can still switch it to like everyday office use. You know, you're not going to be scrolling through Word at like the fastest speed that you need with the mouse, but instead you can just expand the battery life by swapping to the other one and using it for your day-to-day.
That is correct. Yes.
Aha. I love that. Yeah, that's definitely something that a lot of people wouldn't know. So that makes a lot of sense. And I love that explanation because I didn't really think about it that way either. So I love it.
Apologies for running away there. The trials and tribulations of doing a stream from your home is when a doorbell goes at 9 p.m. at night. You kind of need to find out what's going on. So apologies for that, everybody.
Oh,
it's very much like, that's not normal. I'll definitely go check that. But I have plugged in. I now have peripherals back, so that's also a bonus. Thank you for answering that one, though, Van. I do have one last question on the M75 family, like specifically the M75 Air, and this is probably one of the most important ones and what a lot of people have been asking. When are you going to send me a white version of the M75 Air?
Putting me on the spot, huh?
Dang.
Did anyone like how serious that sounded? I feel like that was such a bamboozle, at least. Don't worry, we don't have to answer that one.
Stream, and then we can coordinate something out.
Oh,
fantastic!
Y'all heard it here. We're holding it to your word. We have video receipts of this.
I love it. I'm gonna do. We'll just do a short form clip, and we're just gonna do it. I'm gonna do every day that I don't have. I'm gonna be one of those one of the people like on the YouTube comments or Twitter comments, like commenting day one until I get a free M75 Air in white. No,
that's just
thank
your
you so
team
much
messages.
for asking all those questions. Yeah. Just come up with more creative ways of doing it. Or every day that passes, I make the M75 Air in black bigger until you send me the white one. Uh, but in all seriousness, thank you so much, Van. I appreciate you obviously spending more time because I ended up talking. But thank you so much for answering all the questions. I very much love learning more about this sort of stuff. So we're very appreciative. I think myself, and I speak for chat, I think as well, they've very much been looked like they've enjoyed the answers to the questions. So thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
thank you guys for the questions. I appreciate it. I think these were really fun questions to answer. And if there's anything else that, myself or the team could help to answer, please just let us know anytime.
Oh, for sure. Because I feel like among these questions, we had stuff that was kind of just like vague things about like just keyboards in general, just mice in general. So I definitely would love to have more chats about this in the future. I did see the time. We are going a bit over time. So we'll go ahead and kind of scoot to the end here. So that way I don't keep you too much away from what else you're supposed to be doing. Because, I'm part of the reason it's taking a while for the future products to come because I'm holding this man hostage.
I love how you're taking the blame. I appreciate it because it was clearly me asking 20 more questions that were on the list. But thank you for taking that hit, Lucky.
It's a give and take, give and take. But on that note, is there anything that you would like to add or just kind of share with the community regarding either products or just one of them or anything along those lines?
Mm, I guess something that I want to add. I mean, we've said it a few times in the stream already, but definitely our team, we're always on the lookout for feedback. So the Discord, social media, Reddit, online user reviews, these are something that our team is constantly monitoring and keeping tabs on what people like, what people don't like, what people want to see in the future. So, we definitely have uh, a database of a lot of feedback for current and future products. So if you really want to see something coming out of Corsair, definitely let us know. We'll find out. We'll take everyone's feedback, and who knows, we might see these products. Some new exciting products come out in next few months or years.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely try to keep track of the feedback. And now that I know I can just bring them to you, I will do that a lot more properly than just being like, I'm just going to hold on to these feedback somewhere in this Word doc that I'm going to lose. It's fine. Okay, so the last little bits, just some general announcements for the community and all that good stuff. The first thing that I know everybody has been waiting for and has been wanting to hear is part of this podcast is I ask the questions from the community, both in Discord and on Reddit. And the people who ask these questions and join the thread were automatically entered to win one of the two products. And so there are two winners. So there's one for each product, and it's a total of 4 winners for the different social or for the 2 different platforms, Reddit and Discord. So if you guys haven't joined our Discord or Reddit, I highly recommend you do. The Discord link is already in chat, and then Reddit, you can just find us at the Corsair subreddit, because I will be posting more of these in the future. So for Reddit, the M75 winner was Cool Potato 724. I will be reaching out to them, so no worries. And then the K65 was also to the Can't Stop My Grind. They both had really great questions, and I'm very excited to be able to reach out to them and get that sent over. And then I'll have Bob do the Discord one.
Oh, so I was getting ready for this. I was like, first of all, I was going to do drum rolls and everything, but I feel like I'm now being a little bit extra. So
no, you can be fancy. It was one up me. Go for it. I dare you.
No, I will go right into it because I'm sure chat is just like, look, just tell us who's won already. So a huge congratulations to Terran343 as a fellow Halo lover there for winning the M75. Yes. Congratulations. And a massive congrats to Quickster for winning the K65 Plus Wireless. Huge congratulations. They are amazing things. I'm not saying that because, I'm paid to say those things. Are literally my favorite things. So it's, again, why I'm here. Thank you.
Terran343 is in chat.
So that's fantastic. Yes! I always love it. That's so cool. Fantastic.
Oh, beautiful.
Well, there you go. I'm glad I got to announce the one that was here.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God. I was wondering if they're going to be here because I saw one of them earlier, but I think they had to leave. But no, that's so exciting. Yeah. So just for you and for everybody else, I will be reaching out to you probably within the next day or two, and I'll reach out to you on your respective platforms. So even if I know you on Reddit, but you went on Discord, I will be reaching out through Discord, and then obviously, if you want on Reddit, I'll reach out through Reddit. So just keep an eye out for my messages. And like I said, just give it a day or two and I will get your information and get those submitted. On that note, is there anything that you wanted to add, Bob, before I do our little outro?
I was going to ask one of the extra questions, but I think if I ask it, it will last forever. So maybe everyone will have to come check it out. Do we want to do it?
Do it. Let's.
Okay. I feel like I'm the only one who doesn't have work to do after this, so I feel a bit bad to ask. One which actually really stood out to me, and it was one of the last questions, which, and maybe it's just a number that we can throw out, but in terms of taking something from an idea, like something that somebody's just had to go, it would be great if we did original idea or something that is trending. How long does it actually take to get from there to actual, well, here?
I will say that number probably depends on how complex that idea is. For example, come in with a different colorway of an existing product. Pretty simple. That should take us, maybe half a year at most to do, maybe, probably a lot less. But let's say if it's like an idea with a K200 keyboard with fancy optical magnetic switches on it. I mean, that might be a
Christmas tree of keyboards.
Exactly. So I would say, it probably depends. Typically, I can't say too much specifics for our typical timeline, but depending on the complexity, timelines change.
Fair play. I was about to say, because I was very curious, and I think that's one of those things that a lot of people were quite curious about, and just having that understanding. But like you say, it can be so varied that's why we don't actually hear about it so much, because it just changes so frequently. And based again, I'm assuming it might take longer to do something that's really fancy on a keyboard compared to a mouse, or I could be completely wrong. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to hear that's probably why we're not aware of those things. So, but thank you for answering. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with how fast technology grows and moves in the market. You probably have to make changes constantly. You're like, oh, we're almost there. And then something shifts and you're like, just kidding.
I'm very actually surprised, and I think this is one thing to maybe share, and it's a little bit of my knowledge. I didn't realize how often a product can change, or how often some products rarely see the light of day as well. I think there's a lot of things that people see and they're like, oh, it's easy, just do the thing. And when you see, obviously, like you say, such a fast-paced environment when it comes to peripherals, but also DIY and all these things, and we're like, well, we have these great intentions of being able to do these things, and sometimes it doesn't pan out the way we don't. So every time you see we see questions come in chat, why don't you do X, Y, Z? And we're like, we couldn't, it's the thing. But then obviously we're always trying to innovate and make sure we're staying with the game. So that's, I think, always going to be our first priority. So if you do hear of a thing and you're like, oh man, that would be fantastic, look, a lot of us agree with you. It's not that we don't, it's not we're not listening, it's just there are pesky reality gets in the way sometimes. But yeah,
correct.
I think the only other thing I'll say as well, and I will kind of before Lucky signs off, is if you are interested more about the M75 Air, please make sure you check out the next stream that we're going to do, because I'm going to be doing something very fun and focused on competitive as well, because the M75 Air actually comes, you can actually change the glass skates. You can change the skates on the bottom to the glass skates, which we do provide on the web store, along with the grip tape. And I'm going to be finally actually using mine and doing that live on stream tomorrow. So if you guys want to check that out, also, and stand a chance to win one too. There you go. It'll actually be featured at the end of the stream. So stick around to the end of the stream and then follow through to the next one.
Yes. So I guess on that note, make sure you follow us on all of our social accounts. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. I stream every Wednesday on Lucky Wednesdays, and Bob is every Friday for Thank Bob It's Friday. So we hope to see you guys there. And as Bob said, if you didn't get a chance to win the M75 this round, you have a chance on Friday. So make sure you tune in. So on that note, I think that's pretty much everything from us. So we're officially off air with Corsair. See you guys.
Bye-bye.